Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 4th, 2021 at approximately 5:50 a.m. PST. Well, like I told you yesterday, I'm back a whole lot earlier today, and this is the idea, is to get my day started properly. Sad to say that doesn't always work, but we'll see where it goes from here. Okay, first rule of thumb. You get up in the morning, you're turning your life around. This is the way I do it. Okay. You wake up in the morning, wait only long enough to make certain that your eyes focus enough so you can see. Needless to say, that's kind of important. You get up, do what you have to get your day started. In other words, doing the washroom. If you have a shower or bath first thing in the morning, get up and do so. Come back, make your bed. Okay, at that point, you've already started the day off with a couple of successes. The biggest challenge in most people's lives is dragging yourself out of bed first thing in the morning. Now, sad to say, there are people that have a problem with getting out of bed, and I do mean that from a physical standpoint, some from a mental standpoint. But if you're self-ambulatory, in other words, if you can get up yourself, your most effective method is, as soon as your eyes focus enough to see, get out of bed and do the above. Okay, use the washroom, do what you have to, come back, make the bed. You're now done. I thought you had passed. Mosquito again. Whoa, missed him. It's okay, the air current put him over there. He's out of my way. Okay, once you've done that, come up front. After that, I go up front, grab get my medication. Okay, and medication, by the way, we're talking about heart and diabetes medication. I thought about the other side of it, but the shrink said I was fine. Grab your medication, grab your breakfast, and then in my case, as soon as I've got breakfast done, we get the important thing, coffee. Ironically, I'm not actually addicted to coffee. I just don't like the flavor of water, and considering how weak I make my coffee, according to the nutritionist, basically all I'm doing is taking the flavor of the chlorine out of the water and replacing it with coffee. I can work with it. They're happy, I'm happy. Then you come back and you make sure that your list is ready. Well, of course, my list starts off because I put it together the night before. Okay, so I already know when I get up, I've got the things I've just mentioned on the list already. Okay, so of course, right off the bat, I've got the first three things right off the bat done. I've gone up, got myself organized. I'm in the office at this point. Now, like I said, this world is an absolute shambles, in case you hadn't noticed, but it's not irreparable. So it's time for everybody to get up and actually start working on getting their world straightened out. That will have the effect. And take a picture, if you will, just taking a whole pile of little circles, spraying them out across the world. If everybody does that and corrects their little part of the world, it's just a little job. The old saying goes, many hands make light work. Okay, meaning if everybody pitches together, we can get the job done properly. We can end famine. We can end war. We can end jealousy. And yes, I know that is a massive job, especially given the way that the world is teaching itself right now. The people that are already here, the seniors that are already here, and the adults that are already in positions of power, as it were. Your political leaders, your religious leaders, your teachers and the school board. Those are the ones that are leading things down the road. But the real problem is that it's the individual, people like you, people like me, that are letting them guide us down that road. Okay, now, before anybody gets anywhere, any brilliant ideas, we are not talking about overthrowing anything. We are talking about guiding the direction that energy runs. Okay, and I'm going to bring this up again simply because it is extremely important and absolutely disappointing to me beyond belief. Before the internet came, people used to tell me, especially especially the media moguls, used to tell me, we have all this negative energy on the front page of the newspaper, on the news. We've got all this disaster and all this terrible things being reported because that's what people want. Well, I'll tell you, there's two problems. Number one, I mean, my outlook on it was, how is that possible? Because from my experience, 95% of people are really decent people. Now, granted, I have not met everybody on the planet, so there may be some pretty horrendous people. And I've listened to some people up close that I'm standing there going, how can you think like that and claim that you're any sort of a decent person? Okay, so we look at a number of things. Okay, number one, that's why I figured with the media before. Then the internet came out, and when the internet came out, we come up with things. It used to be the news groups, ICQ. I'm sure some of the people that have been on the internet for a long time recognize these, or the BBS systems. And that's where I started to see it, where people were posting, they were reporting information that was almost all of it, like a good 90% of it, was absolute horrendous. Who stole what? Who ripped off who? Who murdered who? Who was beating on what animal? It was just all this absolute negative stuff. And my way of looking at it was real simple. If 85 to 90%, if 90 to 95% of the people are decent, why is 90% of the stuff that is being reported and being regurgitated and passed around, why is 90% of the stuff garbage? Well, it took me a while. Okay, and of course, like you, I stuck my head in the sand. I went, I'm not looking at it. I can't deal with these people, so I walked away. And I became rather reclusive. But it kept eating at me, and every time I got told, you should watch the news to see what's going on, every time that happened, and I got onto the internet, and I'm watching the people reporting things, and I'm going, you people are all, the majority of you are putting out 90% horrendous stuff, massive transgressions against human decency, of people doing heinous things to each other in the name of love, in the name of law, in the name of their God. Okay, and dawn on me, if 90% of the garbage that's being printed out there is negative, and 90 to 95% of the people out there are decent, then apparently the major media moguls back before the internet came were right on the money. You people are the ones that wanted to see the negative. Now, why you wanted to see the negative, I'm still working on. Maybe it's and this is only a maybe, it's just a suspicion. Maybe it's because you're not happy with your life. So if you point out everybody else's shortfalls, you're going to feel better about yours. My mom tried doing something like that in a sense. When I hurt myself, when I destroyed my leg. Right, I had an accident when I was 12. And I tore the leg apart to the point I couldn't walk. I was stuck on the couch for 3 weeks. Right, the first 2 weeks I never moved. But Mom tried making me feel a little better, and she goes, Keith, your brother's friend down the road, he broke his arm. And we looked at Mom and we went, Mom, now I'm only 12. But even at that point, I looked at Mom and went, Mom, I do feel for him. But the fact that he broke his arm, he could have broke both his legs and his arm, and I still wouldn't feel any better. Now, this is at 12 I figured this out. That what somebody else was going through in a negative front did not make me feel any better at all. Okay. But here I am watching the majority of people that are getting on the net are doing just that. What is wrong with the world? Does it really make you feel better never mind to read the negative, does it make you feel better to post it? To repost who got hurt? Put yourself in the other person's shoes. If that person going down the staircase on a bike and hurting themselves, landing, straddling the railing, if watching that makes you feel better about your life, it might be time to look at the way your life is going. It may be time to look at where your values are standing. Now, I look at my values all the time. I'm not perfect. I go through some pretty black periods. Quite frankly, the last couple of days have been that way inclined. Okay, and much as I do my best to be in a good mood most of the time, it doesn't always work. But it came to my attention that the people that wanted the negative stuff in the news, on the radio, spread out across the internet were people just like you. Now, I'm not saying don't report the negative stuff. Negative stuff happens. And as the saying goes, bad things happen to good people. They do. And good things happen to bad people. But if 90 to 95% of you are decent people, then should it not be the same ratio, something at least similar? 90 to 95% of the stuff that's being reported. Shouldn't that be nice? Think about it. Which do you feel better? Which makes you feel better? You're watching, let's try for just animals. You're watching a wild animal. Watch National Geographic. Watch a lion take down a gazelle. Okay. Does that make you feel better? Does that put a smile on your face? Or does seeing that little dog wagging his tail and running straight at the camera, coming up to say hi to whoever is on the other end of the camera, which one makes you smile more? Does it make you smile more watching the news or reading about the famine over in Ethiopia? Now, the famine is a terrible thing. But do you feel better watching them starving? Or do you feel better watching people sharing food and sharing a picnic in the sun, out in the sun, in the park, flying a kite? Which one makes you feel better? If you feel better watching people starve to death, you might want to take a look at what you're looking at. Okay, there may be something throwing things off kilter for you. Now, I'm not perfect. And there are times, I will tell you, there are times that I look at what somebody goes through and go, well, you really deserve that. Which they probably did. But I do believe it was put best in one particular book where the comment was real simple. Let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. Now, I'm not casting stones, and that's the reality of it is all I'm doing is turning on lights. Okay, it is time for all of you to really look at what you're posting. Okay, now my goal at this point, when I started recording the journey, the idea was to try and get my life back in order. But in all fairness, I was asked by so many people on various different venues, but most of them triggered right around a show that I do on a monthly basis, which, by the way, will be tonight, the first Friday of every month, on a company on the internet on spacedoutradio.com. R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. The people that were on that 6 years ago really pushed me, that were listening into that, really pushed me a lot and asked me a lot to get on the computer, on YouTube, and start talking to people. Okay, now when I started, I figured, okay, where do I start? Well, might just as well start at the beginning. How do I get my life in order? Okay, that has been a long up and down road. Okay, but the reality is where the journey has gone now is I do hope I get a thumbs up out of it, that we get a like on this video. Stumble over that nicely. Give us a like. Subscribe to the channel to get the rest of the information as it comes out. Okay, and then share it with everybody you can, because honestly, my goal is to get this message out to everybody on the planet. The message is this. Number one, every single person out there is worth the effort of getting their life turned around. You know, every one of you is. I have a sign in my office that literally says, I am worth it. Now, every single one of you is worth it. This is not a question of if you're of what gender, what nationality, what race, what orientation, what political or religious alignment. It does not matter to me. You are all of equal value. This does not mean you have the same size pocketbook. Okay, people get different amounts of money for different things, and some of it's equal, some of it isn't. Unfortunately, this world is not just absolute paradise for everybody, but working together, we can turn this place, we can return to paradise, we can make this world a better place for the majority of people. Now, granted, there will always be those that are not happy. Okay, well, I shouldn't say there will always, but pretty close. Okay, there was a time, several centuries back where mankind actually got along. They didn't have war. They didn't have greed. They didn't have famine. Okay, of course, they didn't have farsight either. They tried to stuff that caused a problem, but we'll get into that on another day. Okay, but working together, we can shift the tide. Okay, and people have to realize that every single person out there is starting in exactly the same place right this moment. Right now, you're all standing right where you are. Okay, how you got there is not the real point. It's that you are right where you are right now. This is the only time in the world that you can ever do anything, is right now. Okay, we talk in terms of today and tomorrow and yesterday in order to have communication lines, to have a reference point of what we're doing. Now, the reality is this. Okay, where it comes to time travel, there's all kinds of arguments about it. But ask yourself this. If there is any other time that you can do it, then why? Have you ever even heard a remote hint of somebody going and meeting somebody for coffee? Meet an old friend that you haven't seen for a while, right? Have you ever even heard remote hint of somebody going, sitting down for coffee, you haven't seen somebody for a while, and it's like, gee, I'm glad you got together with me for coffee yesterday. Okay. Or, gee, how are you doing today? How are you doing tomorrow? People just don't that. They talk about things happening in the here and now. Okay. All talking about doing things tomorrow is quite frankly procrastinating, and rest assured, I'm good at it. Okay. It's a constant struggle for me personally to not procrastinate. That's just the way my life goes. So, my goal right now is get this message out to people across the world. Okay, the time to stand up and actually work together, the time to change the world for the better is right now. It is not tomorrow. It is not next Tuesday. It is right this moment. Okay, because this is the only time that you can do anything. The past, number one, it's already happened. And rest assured, if traveling to the past were possible, somebody would have done it and you'd have found that things did not still exist. Horrendous acts of cruelty that people have done in the past would no longer exist. And for those people out there that are tearing down our monuments that commemorate different things from the past, okay, destroying artwork has never changed the event. Okay, I mean, think of it this way: if you had a relationship that went sour, okay, so you tore up all the pictures, you burned all the letters, you deleted all the files that you had shared. Ask yourself this: did doing all of that, did it take the memory of the event away? Did it alter the fact that it had happened? For those of you that have been beaten to a pulp, okay. Or let's try the nice one. For those of you that have been in some sort of horrific accident, Like for the ones of you that survived major disasters such as an airline disaster or a train wreck. Okay, you get all the newspapers and all the news clippings. Does eliminating the news clipping actually eliminate the event? Okay, does it change it? And the reality is, from what I've seen, no. You know, does changing things, sorry, I had to take a minor break there. Does eliminating the records that are physically there, does it make it go away? Okay. Or, does any of that, does eliminating any of the records change the fact the event happened? Now, there is no question. Over time, your memory of events will fade. Or if you've had a terrible breakup, you've had a terrible event happen in a given location, it is, I have found that if you take somebody back to that location, if they go back to it, and they have a positive experience, the positive experience will overshadow the negative one. Okay, now there are certain situations that doesn't work. And suffering from PTSD myself, I do feel for you and those of you out there that suffer from it as well. And rest assured, going back to the event to the area it happened, does not usually do a whole lot of good of getting past that. Now, there are people out there that can help you. In other words, you may go back to a location that something horrendous happened, but you go with somebody that can help keep you focused in the here and now to realize that place is not the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem at this point is the way your mind looks at it. And if you can stay focused on the idea that you're now back at that location and nothing bad is happening, then you can turn things around, you can start moving past that. But PTSD, I am not an expert in it. I simply suffer from it myself. And it does have a bearing on how I do things. But this is why I say it's absolutely imperative that people start working together. You start spreading the word and the good. When I talk about spreading the good word, I'm actually referring to spreading word about things that people are doing for each other, with each other, to celebrate life, to enjoy the time together. Okay, that's what I'm referring to about the good word. Now, where it comes to the religious side of things, and I'm going to end up having to go back and deal with that eventually. But here's the reality of it. Religion, spirituality, group meetings, all of these are critically important for people to actually get along, to cope with today's world. Now, I use the term cope very deliberately. When you're coping with something, you're working through it. My bigger goal is to spread the word around the world. Okay, the thing I came back here to do is spread the word around the world that we can actually have a better world. Okay, we can, working together, make this world, form it in such a way that most people can be very happy. Okay, that's what I've come here to do, is to let people know that regardless of what religion, but if we talk about religion for a half a moment here, if you're a believer that God created everything and that God doesn't make mistakes, then every single religion that's out there was made by God. Okay, every good thing, every bad thing, all of it was made by God. It was not made for a mistake. The reality of it is this. In this world, we have 3 points. We have good things, we have bad things, and we have things to sit in the middle. Now, the theory of relativity that I learned is not the same one that you learned. The one I learned is a very simple one. Okay, and I'll put it to you as simply as I can. The theory of relativity that I learned was 1 plus 1 equals 3. Okay, it is not a mathematical equation. Okay, And one of these days, and matter of fact, I should put that here. That list that I keep right beside me here, I'm just going to do that and get that one done. I'm going to try and do my best to get it done this weekend. Okay. And get it posted. Because the theory of relativity is very simple. It applies to everything. And like I said, 1 plus 1 equals 3. Not mathematics. Okay. Now, when we start working with that, and we realize that you end up that working together, we can change this world. We can guide the energy in this world back to a positive world for the majority of people. Okay. But the message I came back to pass on to you is regardless of what temple you go to, what church you go to, okay, when you're sitting down talking about being nice to each other, talking about helping each other, talking about what can be done to help the community around you, okay, when you are doing that, you are working towards a better world. Okay, you're working towards a world that people can be content in. Now, where are you going to put? You have a choice to make. Okay, and you've got one of 3 choices. Okay, everything has one of 3 choices. You can choose to start spreading the word of what is positive. You can choose to start relaying information about how people are helping each other, or about how people are benefiting society, are benefiting the world around them, are helping the wounded. Okay, and I am referring to people, plants, and animals. When I'm referring to wounded, I'm referring to whatever is being hurt. You can choose to point out the ones that are helping. You can choose and see where that goes and see what kind of a tide that changes. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Okay, right now I am but a pebble in an ocean, in a great, big, humongous ocean. Okay, but one pebble into the ocean won't do a whole lot. You put a whole pile of pebbles in, which is what I'm asking you to do, regardless of where you come from. If you've got the ability to smile, smile at somebody. Make that your goal for today. It ain't that much. It ain't going to cost a whole lot. Okay, and it's the one gift you can give people that I've yet to hear anybody complain about you giving. Okay, so, and rest assured, being nice to people does not guarantee they'll be nice to you, but it certainly can't hurt. At least I don't think it can. Now, you've got a choice. You can either spread news that people are decent people, that people are worth working with. 2, you can spread the negative. You can tell people, you can continue going. Here's who ripped who off. Here's who stole from who. Here's the predator that's walking around the neighborhood in broad daylight. Here's the person that's breaking the law and getting away with it. You can spread all this negative stuff. Okay. You know, the one thing that the media has got right, they prioritize, in my opinion, where it comes to sports events, they prioritize things. You take a sports team, the first thing out, and I'm not good with any of the sports teams, okay? I don't watch sports. But they take the winner of a football game, okay, and they go, and I probably got this wrong, so if I've got it wrong, but we'll go with the point. Okay. We'll try for the Canucks or not the Canucks, rather. I don't even know who plays what sports, but what the media does is they go, here's the winner of these 2 teams played. The winner was so-and-so. You know, and they played these 2 teams, so this one won, that one lost. But they leave the emphasis on the one that won. Okay, the important thing here is minimize the negative, maximize the positive, and carry on with the day. Now, here's the thing. That's 2. Spread the news that's good, spread the news that's bad, or you can choose to spread nothing, do nothing, and blame everybody else for it. Okay, or just choose to do absolutely nothing and let it go. Those are your 3 choices. It's time for you to choose. Now, I personally choose peace. Now, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.